the live stream going? So it's going to be a million people watching. So
Keep it together.
mostly girls. I know it's all dudes here, but the whole audience on the internet are girls. I swear. So my wife, Jonah, back there has drinks for sale. In case you guys are thirsty. If you're poor, you can ask her, she'll give it to you. Okay, we'll wait for Tim since he's on the phone. So actually, I'll tell you a little bit about the space and what we do here. So my company is called Strange Electronic, and what we make is music touring stuff. So software, hardware. So you know how, all the bands you ever see now, there's backing tracks. So half the music is being played by a computer. So even the bands have, computer backing tracks. So that's just kind of standard now. So we build systems for that. We build carry-on systems so that people can bring their whole rig and not get it left because they're going from show to show. So that's what we do. Chris here, he's the lead developer. He's actually the only one right now. And we have a new app too that's super awesome. And what it does is you guys know the CDJ, like the turntable? So what it does is it synchronizes the CDJ and a Resolume, which is a video computer, so that when you play the music, the video will synchronize. So you can scratch video. I love it. Yeah, so that's coming out soon. But yeah, so this is our office. I call it the tax deductible man cave. Because half the time we're just fucking around with ONYXs. So it kind of became an ONYX shop in kind of some twisted way, but it's all good because who cares? It's just us here.
It's a strange way.
Yeah. Okay, so introducing, for your fireplace pleasure, Tim Seward. And he already claimed it, I guess.
Yeah.
Or you can wear his hat.
I guess his right side is better than his left or something. Yeah.
There we go.
I mean, my left side is better than my right because I got. But it would be kind of cool to just like, show that off. Right?
And on this side, John Angel.
Wow.
Is it too bright?
No, no, it's cool because I can't see anybody. I think it'd be funny if we turned it on them though. But is this for like people who have like stage fright, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you have stage fright? Are you nervous?
No.
No?
I was a teacher
Oh, were you?
for like a long time.
Oh, there you go. That's better.
So I had
That's
to
better.
talk to a lot of kids.
I was a teacher too, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Music
I was a college
production.
art professor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
For what kind of art?
Design, doing advanced surfacing and senior thesis for industrial design.
Hey, Ari, can you kill the music?
Yeah.
We kind of started already.
It was cool.
Can we turn the mic up, actually? Chris, s'il vous plaît.
My mic's not.
The only time I've ever like kicked a kid out of class though was because she was drunk.
She was drunk?
She was drunk. Yeah.
12 years old?
She was just a college student, but she came to class drunk. I had to kick her out.
Hey, Chris, are we recording, by the way? Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
It's recording. It's live.
Yeah, this is going down in history, so everything will be used against you.
Oh shit, she might see this. Damn.
Yeah, exactly. She's watching.
She
right?
knows who she
She's
is.
watching.
She knows who she is.
Can they text in and talk to us? Okay, there we go.
Yeah. Anyway, but I am drinking, so it's kind of hypocritical.
No, it's okay.
There we go. I
Yeah.
need a table.
It's casual. That's sparkling water.
Yeah. There we go.
Tim, there's something you might want to know.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Oh.
Sick. There we go. I was gonna try to use John Angel's knee, but it's like not really.
Go ahead and press that. Press it. Press it.
Oh, can we turn that louder too? Chris?
Perfect.
See if we play.
There we go.
Whoa, damn.
Wait, even louder.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. We'll try to add that to the mix.
Oh shit.
Maybe louder still?
Alright. Well, are we ready?
Yeah.
We're ready.
It already started.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure the people who are watching probably already logged off.
Are there anyone on there?
Super bored. Like
15?
shit sucks.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh,
17 watching right now.
Cool.
17 girls, we said.
yeah. They're all girls out there.
Doubtful.
All right, so I'm really excited for this, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's get started.
Let's do it.
So, I had ChatGPT made a question, so
Nice.
if it sounds kind of bland, sorry. All right, Tim. We're gonna start with Tim because.
Okay.
Oh.
That scared me a
Okay.
little bit.
In case you guys didn't know, Tim is the founder of ONYX.
Yeah.
I know. It's kind of crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. I
Yeah.
know.
There we go.
So wait, did you founded
I found
ONYX while you were at school?
it. No.
Oh, so that was after.
This is way longer. Yeah, way after.
So
College.
you went to school for design though.
Yeah, I went to school for design. Well, I went to community college for biology because I wanted to dissect people's bodies, and then I realized I didn't really want to do that. And I was like doing way better in art class. In college I was like, in high school I was also doing really good in art, but there was this one dude who was really good at airbrushing that was beating me. You know, he did like a Tupac airbrush mural, totally like smoked me in high school. But in college I started to like really get good at art, and the biology thing didn't really pan out, so I decided to go on long trips skateboarding for a couple years, well more like 4 or 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And then I went back to school for industrial design.
Wait, so you skateboarded like professionally for 5 years?
Yeah, I was a downhill skater.
Okay.
So,
Kind of like Ari is.
Yeah, but different, like, cause Ari knows how to power slide without like training wheels, so he's it's okay to laugh, Ari. but no, I had like a freeboard, which simulates snowboarding, and I was just really into snowboarding, and I couldn't go snowboarding all the time, so I was looking for a downhill board that would simulate snowboarding perfectly, and there was this dude at Stanford University that designed this really dope simulator. He basically reversed snowboarding on pavement. So if you think about, this is actually what got me into industrial design. So it's actually a cool story. So if you think about how snow and snowboarding works, there's really 3 things. There's snow, there's P-Tex, which is like the plastic base of a snowboard, and then there's metal edges, right? Metal edges is what gives you the control. Well, they're curved too, right? But it's what gives you the control in the snow. The P-Tex is which the plastic base is what allows you to slide on the snow, right?
Yeah.
But without the metal edges, you wouldn't be able to like hold an edge and control your turns, right? So if you reverse that, the snow is your urethane wheel, right? And then he added these 360 shopping cart wheels, like no joke. Literally put shopping cart like caster wheels on his first prototypes, and that would simulate the 360-degree rotation, like the omnidirectional rotation of the plastic base.
Yeah.
And then the skateboard truck simulates the curve of the metal edge of your snowboard. So when you lean on it, it's like flexing your snowboard. It's like so genius.
Oh man.
And when I was 19
Wait,
years
so
old.
did you design that or?
No. So I saw it. He made a video of it, and I saw it. Or no, sorry. He posted an ad in Surfer magazine, and I was like, holy shit, this is the sickest shit ever. And I found out that he was in San Francisco. So the next day I drove to his shop, and we just chatted it up. And long story short, I ended up working for him to design the new the new boards and stuff. But I was just a graphic designer at the time,
Okay.
so I was just doing skate graphics.
Oh, okay.
But he did like this shape that I cut out the shape of one of the decks, which is kind of the deck that they use still to this day. It was called the X80, and then now they call it some other names, but the original shape is we just cut the tails off
Got it.
basically to
Got it.
reduce weight and rotational weight or whatever.
You guys all following that?
Yeah, it's crazy. but freeboard is a lot of fun, and you can go really fast, like downhill, down the steepest hill in San Francisco, and you can stop on a dime. Is kind of the
So you're using
That was
the,
the-
using
that was
the
the
edge
motto.
of the wheel to slow down, right?
yeah. So I could bomb down a hill.
Yeah.
And a lot of people make fun of me when I say bombing because there's a video of me be like, I just want to bomb. There's a really old video of me when I was really young. But we would bomb down hills, pretty much kind of carving like this to go fast. A longboarder can go faster because they can just go straight. But I mean, 50 miles an hour is pretty fast, right? So
Totally.
go straight. And then you can just slide. You can just turn your body like this, like a snowboard, and slide on a stop on the steepest hill in San Francisco.
Doesn't that wear the wheel?
Yeah, it
go
wears the
fast?
wheel out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to think of it like snow, you know, it's like getting
Sure.
pushed away. It's just like the urethane's getting pushed away.
Right.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting concept. It's totally reversed.
Right, I got
There's
it.
probably a lot of products that you could do where you just like reverse the idea, right? On whatever element it's on.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, I don't know. But a lot of them have already been discovered.
So what happened to, did you still ride those boards?
I went a month or two ago, I think. I went skating with Ari recently.
Oh,
brought
you-
out an
you
brought out an electric one.
Oh, there's an electric one?
There's an electric one. Yeah, that's what killed Freeboard, and
The
that's
electric
actually
one?
kind of how ONYX started.
Oh.
So an electric version of the board that I was riding killed our company.
Why? Because it costed too much?
And so I started thinking about, like, oh shit, maybe I should start thinking about electric. We were so against electric. We were like, fuck electric.
Wait, so you went electric, but how did it kill the company?
What?
How did it kill the company?
So basically this guy came up with this, you know, electric version of our board. And I mean, in a way, I mean, I'm sure he might see this, but I think he's kind of a weasel. So he knew that our patent was going to expire.
Okay.
We had a utility patent, so it was like no one else could make this board.
Oh.
And he knew it was going to expire, so within like a year, he started adding electric motors to it. And he was smart enough to say, like, in the back end, saying, I'm going to patent on top of their patent.
Yeah.
So effectively lock them out from making their product electric. So we could only make our product, but we couldn't actually go and electrify it the same way that he did it.
Oh, so he was just cock blocking.
Basically, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so he
That's rude.
started making like 3 times the revenue of our company and basically just smoking us. Yeah. It was crazy. And the thing is that like I still remember when he like reached out and said, "Hey, I want to do this together," and like all of us were like, "No, this is lame."
Oh, man.
But I mean,
So
you were thinking
he-
like a skater. You're
Wait,
like,
so
oh,
he
this
actually
is
did that, and then
Yeah.
the whole thing just ended.
well, no, it wasn't that fast. It was definitely like
It was like a
it was like
decline.
4 years. It
Yeah,
took
right.
it took like 4 years to kill the company,
Yeah.
but I do remember when we said no, and then he was like, "Well, F you guys, I'm gonna do it myself."
Okay.
Yeah, and then he became more successful, and I mean, it wasn't like directly how I thought of ONYX, but I definitely was thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't be such a dick about like sorry for the language, but I shouldn't be so against something that I don't really know or understand.
Mm.
So I started learning, and I started making my own version of an electric freeboard, and I was putting electric hub motor wheels on the outside of it.
Oh, cool.
What he did is he electrified the center wheel, so the middle wheel could spin in any direction, and the motor was a hub motor in that wheel.
Right.
That was definitely a better version of it because you could go in any direction, and the motor would go in the correct direction. When you have it on the edge wheels, you would have to, like, when you do a 180, you'd have to, in the programming, it'd have to know that you did a 180, and it would have to reverse direction.
I see.
Which is like not easy to program, but you can do it with VESC and stuff like that, but it's not easy.
So this is when you started ONYX at this point?
ONYX was more of just a pet project of mine. I was just kind of playing around. I started getting into electric way earlier though with another person.
Yeah.
His name was Rufus. He was the guy. He was the web developer of Treatland, and he wanted to like make an electric moped. He knew I was an industrial designer. He knew that I was doing all these consumer electronics, but I was spending a lot of money at Treatland customizing all my gas-powered mopeds.
Got it.
And so he kind of, I think just by the amount of money that I was spending, because I was writing off taxes, it was a lot of money, and I was basically calling it a project, and I think he knew at that point, because I said, hey, I need to write off like $12,000 in parts as a project, a design project, which wasn't true, but he was probably was like, who is this guy wanting to write off his taxes on our stuff? And then he asked me to help him do some design for his initial Derby variant, which was a variated motor with an RC car mid-drive motor and a 48-volt system, and it only went 40 miles an hour.
It's a Derby
But it was
car?
dope. It was dope because it was this tiny little electric motor.
That's great.
It was this tiny little electric motor on a variator, which is just a belt-driven kind of transmission.
Yeah.
It's like CVT similar, where it's just kind of an endless gearing ratio. And so you can have this really low-powered motor get you up to a higher speed just based on like the weight.
So an RC car motor, like the little...
Like tiny little
Whoa.
motor. Yeah, it was dope, but
Yeah.
way too expensive. And that was in 2012. But that, and then there was another guy, just so you guys have context, there was another guy named George Schmackenberg. He passed away. He designed the boosted boards, but I worked with him in 2010 on a bunch of like other consumer electronics, like Sonos speakers and stuff. But he was making a Burning Man electric bike, and I saw him do that. But because he passed away on the boosted board, and he was doing solar panels, he had a solar panel company and all that shit, I kind of felt like I need to carry his torch in some way, because he was really, I mean, it's kind of sad. He was really doing a lot of stuff. He was petitioning. He's actually the reason why electric skateboards are legal in California, or sorry, maybe even the nation, but legal in California. They were illegal. Like, basically, you know, if you ride a skateboard, a cop can pull you over and say and give you a ticket. You're riding a toy on the street. But an electric skateboard, for whatever reason, had a pass, and he petitioned that. So it was really cool. But he passed away riding the skateboard, unfortunately. But definitely cool dude. Taught me a lot. So I definitely felt like that inspired me a lot, you know. And then I just started making my own electric ONYX in around 2015, 2016. I was just kind of playing around with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
How'd you come up with the name?
ONYX is a really cool rap group that I was in the 90s. That
Did you guys know that?
I was like riding the ONYX, and for whatever reason that song Slam came into my head.
Ah.
Just like, let the boys be boys. Because I was like literally just weaving through traffic and just shredding really hard and like
So you
essentially
had
breaking the law,
like one.
really terribly.
So it was just a bike for yourself.
Yeah, it was just a bike for myself, and I started writing ONYX on my drawings, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of what came to be.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious.
But I liked it too because it has all these different meanings, like on X, like on ecstasy. You know, like
I didn't know that one.
Like
Molly.
on, you know, it's just the word on.
Yeah.
It's the way I stacked it too. It's just kind of the word on is, you know, essentially power.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On
You noticed
ecstasy.
it, yeah.
On ecstasy.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been like super obvious and made a
Now
power
everyone
symbol
knows
for the
ONYX
O.
is on ecstasy.
Right.
I remember recording a video of myself with the selfie stick on a booster board, thinking I was going really, really fast. And then I got an ONYX.
Yeah.
But it's funny, the story kind of ties in that sense. I didn't actually know some of these things. So to hear that, oh, there was some association with boosted boards, because we had like Casey Neistat back in New York, and he just made those popular. And I didn't remember the gentleman's name who passed away, but it's familiar. I remember hearing something about that. So it's kind of cool that it ties in that way. But it's too bad Boosted didn't stick around, but I was pretty happy to have those.
Yeah, they're pretty dope.
They were really
Yeah,
really
they were
good.
fun. I mean, the belts were really, I think, too close to the ground. There was, especially in San Francisco, you'd shred those belts just hitting a pothole or something.
Yeah, I took some stainless steel and got a metal cutter just to protect the belts.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah.
But I got lucky when I got into Boosted Board because I got that generation where people couldn't remote control your board while you were riding it. Because the generation right before me, somebody could walk up with, today we have like the Flipper Zeros, but back then there was a device like that and you could like launch somebody's Boosted Board into reverse.
Oh,
Like
shit.
max speed. So I was like, I'm just gonna wait a little bit till they fix that, and then that's what happened. But pretty cool.
Did you do that to somebody?
No, it's a good idea though. Pretty cool.
So, so you were able to ride your ONYX at the time in San Francisco. I mean, there's so many hills and
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ONYX. So the best way to describe why I think ONYX people still ride it and are still customizing it and stuff, the core principle of it is that it literally needed to be as good as some of my best custom gas builds of mopeds, right?
Right.
So you could basically buy, a 30 mile per hour, moped, either a Maxi or a Magnum or a bunch of other different brands, and you could buy a kit that's a couple $100, and you can put a 70cc kit on it, and it will go 45.
Got it.
And then you can start dumping in like thousands of dollars, and it will go 50 or 55. And then once you get really good at the tuning of the carburetors and the gearing, you could get it to 60, 70 miles an hour. And that's when I realized I was like, all right, this kind of capping at this, because at that point you're starting to blow piston rings and clutches and also because the motors are not built to go that fast.
Right.
They're meant to go 30, and you're now putting 70 miles an hour. The RPMs, you're putting like KTM clutches in there. It's crazy. And you're putting huge expansion chambers on there. They sound ridiculous, and people were flipping me off, plugging their ears. And so I said, maybe I should.
Oh, you're like those kids that ride like on
Yeah,
First
yeah.
Street.
Yeah, so
Just blasting.
Yeah, they're just blasting on their little like mini bikes or their, whatever they got, like the 2-strokes.
Yeah, exactly.
They're cool. The thing is that you can do all of that with electric, in my opinion, pretty easily. Like once you look into it, you just get gobs of torque like throughout almost the whole RPM range.
Yeah.
And that's actually pretty hard to do on a gas-powered moped. You definitely need to have, maybe at least a 2-speed automatic transmission. And at that point, it gets even more complicated, right? And you're breaking things left and right on gas-powered stuff. But with electric, it's like, okay, you just figure out the voltage, the battery, the controller, and the motor, right? Because I was testing all these different motors.
Got it.
And then landed on the QS, which to this day is still like some of the best motors, QS.
So where are you getting all the motors and parts and whatnot at that time?
Well, originally I was just buying them from this guy named like Barrett or something. I can't remember his name. I don't know.
But what, is like a website?
He was really into building, DIY stuff on like Endless Sphere or something.
Yeah.
And I was asking all these dumb questions. I should probably look back on those and remember how I didn't know anything, but there was a lot of people that were very helpful. I blew through all sorts of controllers, until I realized that I wasn't pairing stuff correctly. And then I found QS. They more or less helped me get some of the parts that I wanted and kind of helped me. But there was a couple other suppliers that were like supplying parts, so it wasn't too hard to figure it out. Once it worked, I then was testing different motors to see what the difference was.
Yeah.
And QS by and far, like you could have the exact same controller, exact same battery, and you could definitely feel the difference between a QS and like all these other brands.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that was a lot of fun to just test that, going up all the hills and stuff, as you were saying.
Yeah.
You couldn't climb hills with some of these weaker motors, which I guarantee are on brands like Goat Power and all these other white label bikes.
Yeah.
they don't have good motors. You can tell just by the side cover, you know, you can tell how the biggest indicator in my opinion is if the side cover has like a really rounded fillet around the edge. Those are like Alibaba. Those are Amazon specials or Alibaba specials for sure.
Yeah, the bike definitely wasn't normal when I first got it.
Yeah. When did you get your ONYX?
I ordered, I think, July. I got it October.
What year?
And 2019.
19.
Yeah, and I mean, later on in my story, when I learned more about this, it just made sense that this bike came out of San Francisco because it felt like it could climb some pretty aggressive hills.
Yeah, I thought that because we have hills here too. So
I'm assuming, I don't know this, Tim can tell us, but I feel like there's some San Francisco DNA in the ONYX, you know?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much, most of my life I was in San Francisco, and climbing the hills was not easy with anything, nothing. Now the ONYX, you could do it.
Yeah.
But like there was literally like, all my mopeds, I would avoid all the hills.
okay.
Because unless I had it geared to climb hills, but then the top speed would be abysmal.
Right.
Right, so you either can like I actually had hill climbing bikes, and then I had high speed bikes. It really, and then it would basically be dependent on what I was gonna do.
Mm.
Like if I knew someone who lived on like, like there was a party at a really big hill, you know, out in the Presidio or something, I'd essentially take that bike, even though I wouldn't be able to get there as fast.
Did you
but
commute?
I could climb hills
Did you
like
commute in
go.
San Francisco on the bikes?
What?
Was it for commuting or was it just fun?
Yeah, mainly commuting. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would. The funny thing was, is some of my bikes were so fast that I'd dip on the freeway for a little bit, just to get through the city faster.
Right.
I mean, San Francisco, like
No one cared?
I mean, today it's probably not true, but in the
That's-
past nobody cared. Nobody cared. You could do whatever you want.
That's on my list. I want to go ride an ONYX in San Francisco.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think now they have like speed cameras and stuff. So
Is any of the viewers
I don't care about the cameras.
from San Francisco?
you know, yeah, no plates.
You're from San Francisco?
That's why I released that bike, dude.
Oh, interesting.
Wait, who's
Right.
from San Francisco?
Oh yeah,
Mike,
You?
nice.
I knew you had an accent. I could tell. I could tell.
there's an accent?
That thick accent, that thick San Francisco accent.
I mean, it's not like you can go up like Filbert Street super fast, but at least you can go up it. I mean, you're not even allowed to drive up some of the streets; they're so steep. But the ONYX can go up it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I got my ONYX in 2019, and it was 2 weeks ago that I finally got an ONYX to kind of hiccup on me. But to be that many years beating on this bike, and it finally like sneezes for the first time, it's just amazing. It's an over-engineered bike,
Yeah.
like overly engineered bike.
So you didn't know Tim before, you were just,
I kind of came in at an interesting time where there was a transitioning happening. I heard about him. He was very vocal at the time, super helpful, which also kind of is unusual. Like to have somebody that's like a founder or somebody that's got the company and be that involved was kind of actually inspiring. I think
did you call like tech support and he picked up?
No, the funny thing is I've actually never called in tech support because it was an ego. It was like, wait a minute, like I looked at this bike when I got it and I'm like, I think I should take the whole thing apart. And I did. I took the entire, I have pictures of my first ONYX all laid out. Like you've got the t-shirt of the bike laid out. That's what my living room looked like at one point. And luckily I was able to put it back, but I accidentally taught myself a lot about the bike like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
My girlfriend, like I thought I knew her, but she was so patient because we were like having to step over the frame and the motor and everything.
Tim, you said you hand built the first, what, 500 or so?
No, oh, well, not individually, no. I mean, I had see, like, I can't remember how many employees, but it was like 4 or 5 people.
Okay.
And I was doing 10 a week, right?
That
And
you
our
built.
and our
That's a
goal
lot.
was to
That's a
do
lot.
like 50 every 2 weeks, I think.
50 bikes?
Yeah, because that was
Whoa.
what Hall Bikes. They said Hall Bikes would not show up unless we had 50 bikes to put on their track. Because the deal was, like, I think they charged like 700 or something like that, close to that individually. But I was like, dude, I can't afford that. These people don't even want to pay like $300 to ship the bike across the country, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, if you give us like, you fill a truck, essentially, we can do it for the price that people want to pay, essentially. But so we were like, I'm basically like running, well, the whole day I'm basically sitting on, like on my back, putting panels on and
Holy
shit like
shit.
that,
Yeah.
which is probably like the hardest thing still to
Do you
this day
think
to
you
do.
have one of his hand-built ones?
No, I just missed out, I think, by like 10 bikes. But when in New York, we had to go to this part in Brooklyn, Cherry Street,
Yeah.
haul bikes, park the truck. And I thought I was gonna be there was gonna be like 1 or 2 ONYXes. So when he opens up this truck, there's like 30, 40 ONYXes in there.
Ah.
And I just was the
Wait,
one
so
that
you
got
bought it
there
out of
early.
the back of a truck?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Could have. And so it was just wild to be like, by that time, I had absorbed all the enthusiasm of everyone waiting to get their bike.
Yeah.
So to walk up to a full-on trailer full of these bikes, and then 20 minutes later, there's like 30 people there excited. I was like, oh, I guess we should all be friends now. So we have something in common, you know? But
So
yeah.
cool. Was it like the first entry of ONYX into New York City?
Honestly, dude, I was so influenced by so many other people.
Okay.
Like that first delivery to be there with like 30, 40 people receiving their first, getting their ONYX was a pretty wild thing. We actually none of us had ridden a bike like this, so we're like, okay, I think we should try to ride back together, Let's just do 25, which that didn't last for more than 5 seconds because we were all smashing the throttle.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's an experience.
Yeah, New York was crazy, right? Like it had, the crazy thing about New York is it's definitely the most expensive to ship there, right? Because of
Yeah.
the getting into New York. And then
Okay.
Yeah.
also it's like the most, we sell the most, or I think still to this day, like most of our bikes sell to New York, and then California comes in a hot second.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
it could, yeah, New York is like literally
Whoa.
like the most popular city for, I mean, ONYX is the most popular in New York. And back in the day when we were doing haul bikes, they wouldn't even like drive, because they have a big tractor trailer,
Yeah.
they wouldn't drive in. They would, I mean, I think they were gonna meet sometimes at that moped
Home
shop, the
Depot,
moped shop, or yeah, but
that
they were,
moped shop,
yeah, they were meeting outside mostly though, right? And then people would call me and say, oh, I gotta ride over the bridge or whatever it is. And I'm just thinking in my head, I'm like, that sounds like a lot of fun. Like, why are you
Yeah.
complaining to me that you're gonna ride over a bridge? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's fun. But I mean, people are scared, obviously, like,
Of course.
they don't know how to do that.
Like once they, I've just been there so many times to see what it's like for people to get their first ONYX.
Yeah.
The closest thing I can compare it to is a Porsche, to be honest.
Hmm.
Like that level of enthusiasm, like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna do this right now.
Right, right.
It was wild. It was very energetic, still is, I honestly kind of missed the whole delivery thing because it was like all of us were kids waiting for is Tom falling asleep? Is he pretending? I swear to God, I know you're not asleep. But yeah, it was
Busted.
pretty cool. Pretty cool to have all of us get our bikes together. Yeah, maybe we need to keep them awake or something.
Yeah. Well, nice. Why not?
There you go.
It's okay. He can sleep.
Yeah.
He took a long flight here.
I mean, I understand it's a 3-hour time zone difference. That's pretty rough on people.
So what time is it now? Like 8, 9, 10 p.m.?
1 a.m. 1
It's
a.m.
like 11 p.m. over there. Oh, that's true. It's like 11 over there.
So maybe we'll move on to some of the, actually one funny thing, a lot of people don't know what RCR stands for.
Well,
And
Cap-
you
Cap-
you guys know what RCR stands for? Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
well,
What he
What'd he say?
He said Retro Cafe Racer.
I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, that's. I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense. Definitely. No, it's just.
Oh, real cool ride. That's good.
No, it's just short. It's literally just like removing the vowels for racer. It's Cafe Racer.
Yeah.
But
So-
I mean, originally it was like Cafe Blaster. If you look at like some of the real old stuff. I don't know if
Ari
you're
was
not supposed to
mentioning
have
it was-
there now.
it was
But you
called
might
the
see
Magnum?
some things where it says like Cafe Blaster, and then
Cafe Blaster,
then it
right.
turned into Cafe Racer.
what was the Magnum?
Oh, Magnum is an actual bike from Pook, which is a
Oh, okay.
brand.
Okay.
Yeah. They had Magnum, Maxi.
No, that's right, that's
Free
right.
Spirit, all
Got
that.
it.
Yeah. They
Okay.
had Cobra. I mean, if you think about those names are kind of cool.
So
Like
officially,
these-
RCR is just short for racer.
Yep.
Racer.
Racer.
That's it.
Okay.
But it's not like obviously like racing like a sport bike or something. It's more cafe racer.
Right. That's
Right.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
I got that.
Yeah. But it's not like, I wouldn't say it's like it's a cafe racer that's more of like a blank slate that people can make a cafe racer, right? I mean, that's the whole thing about cafe racing, right? Is
Right.
that you make it your own, right? So the bike that you're buying, in my opinion, is sort of the cleanest, minimal version of what you can transform it into, right? That was my goal, right? Was to make it like super simple and clean, but then also knowing that people are gonna change their seats and do all sorts of other mods to it. And,
So you intended for everyone to.
Oh yeah, just like you do with the gas powered stuff.
Right.
People just mod those all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the culture of ONYX.
So that's why it's called Racer, right? It's like men's cafe racer, but you really are supposed to buy it and then modify it, which pretty much everybody does.
Right.
Make it your own.
Right.
And if anyone asks me like why I don't really modify mine, is because it's just kind of like what I made, right? And then and then if like for me to modify it, it feels weird like to
Right.
modify it, because then it's, I guess the way I look at it is like that's the version that I made, and I like seeing everybody else do their own thing. So I don't modify mine too much.
Right.
I'll do very.
I know John
minimal
doesn't. You also keep yours very stock looking.
stuff.
It's because of what he said once.
Yeah.
And I had talked to him once to get some advice. I can't remember at this point what it was, but he made a comment to me saying the bike is the mod,
Right.
you know, and that for me resonated. So for me to keep it as minimal as possible, I kind of like that sleeper look.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, there are a lot of beautiful, amazing.
Oh yeah.
The bike, he's right, it's a palette. Like, you've got to see just all the things that people do to it. And they should. But I've seen people, like, I've seen that smile on their face when they put on, like, a mirror and they think that's a mod. And now I believe that. You know, they've convinced me now I think it's a mod too. Like, they'll be like, John, I got mirrors on my ONYX. I'm like, oh, dude, congratulations on your first mod, you know? And yeah, and this guy over here, Ivan's inspired me too with some cool things.
Yeah.
I used to, when people didn't take care of their ONYXs, I had a different word that I would use, and he suggested a better word, you know? Dude, I forgot the bad word I used to use, because when the bikes are kind of beat up, I kind of thought of that almost in a negative context.
Mhm.
But then he knocked some sense into me and made me realize maybe those people are just really using the heck out of their bikes. And so I started paying attention to that, and the bikes that were kind of neglected, guess what? They were functioning. They were just using them every day a lot. And then I started to kind of popularize that in New York. So guys now in New York will show up with bikes that haven't been washed in a year, and they'll be like, John, look how much dirt I got on mine. It's looking good. And they're just happy.
Kind of like Jeeps.
Yeah, they're yeah, like Jeeps. We're talking about
Yeah.
Jeeps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't wash your bikes?
No, I definitely wash it.
Oh.
I brush my teeth also.
You brush your teeth too.
I do. I brought mouthwash on this trip, so. What's this? What? Very good.
So let's move on to technology. I mean, I guess you started on it some with the motors and whatnot. What makes ONYX's hardware unique, like compared to other electric bikes?
Well, I mean, I think the technology. I mean, you can go really hard, obviously, into the technology, because, I mean, I was a consumer electronics designer, but I think the thing with trying to make, you know, an ONYX or any bike in this kind of industry too over-designed and over-engineered, obviously, in my opinion, isn't working yet. I think in the future, definitely, we're going to have more consumer electronic inspired or, you know, well thought out designs. But we're really early, in my opinion, we're really early in e-bikes right now. And I don't think that anyone is ready or prepared to pay the price for something that's been designed, like every single piece has been like precision designed, right? You could do that. It's going to take years. Two, it's just very costly because you have to make molds for everything, right?
The machinery.
And there's a couple companies that did that, like Van Moof and Cake, and there's a couple other ones that are doing that. And the price point is wild,
Yeah.
right?
Interesting.
And it's all proprietary, right? And I think the biggest problem there is that right now you can see there's a big consumer base where a lot of people like the products that you can buy stuff for from Amazon or from some other website, right? Or some custom builder that's making parts for it, and then you can bolt them on and you can customize your bike. You could see that happening in a lot of other like different genres of e-bikes. You know, you use Super 73s, the Surons, and then even in our bikes, right? But the bikes that are like really locked, right? They have, you know, CAN systems, and you can't go in and easily change the components. Those ones, you basically have to, like a lot of these other ones, like let's say Cake or something, you'd have to basically tear out a lot of the system to modify it.
I see.
And then it's already too expensive to do that, right?
Right,
So
right.
it's not a good base for that, right? I mean, I would say they're, in a way, from a design perspective, they're a beautiful bike, like Cake, for example. Beautiful design. They had beautiful, minimal designs. But I knew right away that that's an industrial designer that isn't thinking about the actual customer. It's an industrial designer thinking more about himself and thinking about more like what he wants. It's hard though, right? Because most industrial designers do think about what they would want, but you do have to think. You have to play both sides. You do have to think about what most people would want. And I do think the biggest problem with Cake is that they were thinking too much about like what they would want and what they think is ideal, and that's just not what most people right now like. It's like you look at Ferrari and you look at Lamborghini and you're like, damn, those are sick, but you can't afford to buy. Most people can't afford to buy those, right?
Right, those are.
It's like you think that
polished,
they're
yeah.
cool and you can talk like everybody heard about Cake, right?
Yeah.
Everybody heard about it.
So
It's just like everybody knows Ferrari, everybody knows Lamborghini.
So ONYX is not made by Ferrari.
What? No.
You know,
No, so I would say ONYX is more like your Volkswagen. Which,
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like very customizable. It's cheaper. It's affordable. You can make it go fast.
Right.
You can do a lot of stuff to it
Yeah.
for a fairly decent budget. And I mean, personally, I have a lot of Volkswagens. That's why I bring it up,
Yeah.
right? Because they're very easy to modify. They're cheap. They're affordable, and you know they're easy to work on. So I kind of was thinking about that with ONYX from a technology standpoint. Don't want to go too hard into it.
It's not like a lowered Honda Civic.
That's kind of the same thing, though.
That's
That's
okay.
kinda the
I'm just kidding.
I would say that's kind of the same thing, though, right? It's like Honda Civics are. Yeah, I mean, that's another good example.
It's interesting to like touch on this because the oldest e-bikes from 2019 early till now is the ONYX.
Mm-hmm.
Like those Surons that were there, they're gone. Like everything is gone. Like the only bike in New York, early last year, the count with the help of a lot of the guys was about over 1,300 ONYXs in New York City alone.
Yeah.
So now we know it's like 14 something, right?
Wait, so you're saying the earlier generation Surons are gone?
They're gone.
So
yeah.
people are just dumping them and getting new ones.
They were dumping them for God knows what, you know.
Right.
There was definitely a lot of that trade-in with those other bikes, but ONYX is the only one from early 2000. Mine was like, I think, number 5,
Yeah.
you know, from what we've been able to figure out over there.
Okay.
But the oldest bike of its kind is ONYX over in New York, you know. And so we have the OG bikes that still come out and they're running with us and having a lot of fun.
Right.
So it's been the most consistent bike. People have said to me, were you making a bet with someone or something, because like this has worked out for you in the long run to like stick to this bike, because it's the oldest one, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know?
I would also say what's funny about that, right, is like you, but like ONYXs don't get, I mean, there may have been one or two that have been impounded in the 8 years that ONYX has been around,
Right.
but ONYXs don't get impounded
No.
when people are, you know, you would say like not following the rules and not registering their bike at least as a moped, right? You can ride around on an ONYX and not have it registered, which is, you know, I wouldn't recommend that because it is risky. Like you could find that 1% cop that's like, hey, that's not allowed, I'm taking it from you. But you can register it as a moped, but the thing is that most cops since the 60s and 70s, 1960s and 70s, they look at an ONYX from just at a glance. They look at an ONYX and that shape is recognizable from bikes that have been around for 50 years.
Ah, the
right?
classic.
And so they immediately just like, oh, that's legal. Like they don't even look for a license plate, or even if you don't have a license plate, a lot of it happens all the time. Your license plate falls off, and I know that cops have pulled people over and they've heard that like, oh, my license plate fell off.
Yeah, the
They're
bike
just like,
has,
oh, whatever.
It has like this kind
Just
of
keep
like,
going.
it just fits in psychological effect.
Yeah.
They're stunned by how pretty the bike is.
Yeah.
And in the beginning for me, where I live in Hell's Kitchen, the bike was gray areaed in 2019. So we didn't know what the laws were going to be. They were going to come out the next year. So I actually started taking my ONYX at the police station. I just go up to the police station, park it, and be like, what do you think? I only had one cop, like, you know, I can take this from you. I'm like, take it, I'll just get another one. As long as you're happy, I don't care. And now he has an ONYX. Now we've got 22 cops on ONYXs. And they'll actually race with us and stuff. It's awesome.
No way. Oh,
Oh yeah, it's great. It's great. But the cool thing for me to be in LA for the first time, I'm hearing that LA has a lot in common with New York in terms of like how the public, how the police, everybody perceives and treats the bike. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I would just say like to further that is that dirt bikes, like actual true mini bikes, because like Super 73 is based off of a 1970s mini bike, but with bigger wheels.
Right.
But when it actually has like the 12-inch wheels or the 10-inch wheels, and a dirt bike form factor with dirt tires, and it literally looks like a dirt bike with the dirt fenders and all that, cops look at that and they immediately like their sirens go off, right, in their head. They're literally like, that's illegal.
Right.
Because it's always been illegal.
Right.
That's the biggest difference. Like ONYX is from a form factor has never been illegal.
Right.
Dirt bikes have always been illegal unless you get a dual sport or an enduro, which is funny. Like that's just how they should come, but I don't know why they don't.
Yeah. Yeah, in 2007 they made dirt bikes illegal in New York City.
Yeah.
So just looking like a dirt bike gets you that
So
attention.
ONYX got through that.
We've been there where we've only had, there was somebody, an ONYX owner, a friend of mine, that he was protesting against the cops.
Mm-hmm.
And they took his bike for that, because he was protesting, not because of the bike. And they gave it back to him the next day, just showing the receipt. But we've been there where we've crossed the bridges, and they'll have the traps on the ends of the bridges, and they stop everybody, and they're like taking all the other bikes, and they'll look at the ONYX, and they'll be like, oh, come on through, sure, no problem.
So
You know?
if we go to New York City now, will we still see ONYXs just flying around?
They're all over the city.
Wow.
It's all 5 boroughs, they're everywhere. You know?
Nice.
And I would just to end this, like I would say I actually have plates for 1 or 2 of my ONYXs. I don't put them on. I have
Yeah.
the registration papers. I've been pulled over once because I ran a red light where I made a red light left turn in front of the cop, pulled me over, but he never even asked me about the bike. He was just like, here's a ticket for making a illegal left. But I won it because I was on an e-bike.
Yeah.
Like the judge just threw it out. He was like, oh, you're on an e-bike.
Yeah, I've been pulled over 7 times, and it was just to ask me about the bike.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're like,
Wait, so they'll pull you over to ask you about
twice by the highway patrol, and it was just to ask me about the bike, just to They just came up and they're like,
So you thought you were going to jail, and they're like, "Cool bike, bro."
you know, like you don't know why you're getting pulled over sometimes, you know, unless it's a legal left-hand turn. But yeah, it was interesting. They just like were like asking questions about the bike, and then I'm expecting something else to happen, and they're like, "Okay, man, have fun."
I think one thing interesting about this conversation is that you're saying that you built the ONYX as like this base starting point for people to take it to where they want it.
Yeah.
And then you, on the other hand, you know, you're well known for taking it to where you want
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. No, that's a thing. I mean, I think a lot of other people love the whole personalizing aesthetic part of the bike.
Yes.
I never really wanted to get into the performance. I just saw enough people breaking their ONYXs trying to get to performance.
I see.
And so I was like, well, you know what? Let me do it. I'll write about it so they can follow my instructions, get to where they want to get without damaging the bike. And that's basically how it's been.
So that's how you started your blog?
Yeah, that's part of. I'm trying to remember how did I really start the blog. I think it was because people were attempting to unlock more performance. And again, the bike is super over-engineered. Like when you get the bike, it's like just under a quarter of what it could really do.
Right.
You know, so as I started going through my journey and experience of unlocking the power, I was ready to buy like new motors and everything, but the farther I went, I'm like, wait a minute, this is still the stock stuff. And then that's when I pushed farther and said, what can this bike do? Like I was actively trying to melt things. I was trying to burn things up.
Yeah.
I had spare parts, but the bike never faltered, not once. You know, so it's been interesting in that way.
Nice. You guys have any questions in the meantime about what we've kind of gone through?
Should I register my bike in California?
What?
Should I register my bike in California?
So my advice is, yeah, it's pretty easy, right? It's like I don't actually even remember. It's like $23 to $27. $27 now? Yeah, $27. It's one time, so you don't have to do it ever again. Pretty simple. I would the way I would do it though is there's a DMV up in the North Bay of San Francisco, and I would go into that DMV, and I know that DMV has license plates day of, so you could fill out the form, go up to the pay your $27, and then give you a license plate. I think the biggest problem that people have with California right now is like, you fill it out, and you send it in the mail, you wait 3 months, and they're like, no. And then you try it again, and they say no. And then you try it for the third time, and then suddenly you have a license plate. I've heard stories like that. And they don't give you any reason why. They're just the people at the DMV, I don't think understand what a moped is, most people. But there are DMVs that do have moped license plates in stock. And the best way to figure out where those DMVs are is to go on mopedarmy.com and look up. I'm sure you could find someone in LA that will tell you, hey, this DMV in LA County has license plates.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, I'd like to add, and I don't, if you register the ONYX, and I hate to say it, if it gets stolen, it's going to get treated very differently as a registered vehicle. So if it's stolen as a bike, bicycle, whatever, they're going to be like, okay, fill out this form. But if it's stolen as a registered vehicle, you're entitled to like all this other help, and they take it more serious. So that's one.
Is your bike registered?
No, but I do have them insured through Geico, all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually, he's right. That's actually the biggest reason to register it.
Yeah.
It's not about the cops or anything. It's about the fact that if your bike gets stolen, it is so much easier to get your bike back. Like
Right.
when the cops come, because you're like, hey, I found it because of my AirTag. You're like, here's my registration.
Yeah.
And they just go, oh, it matches, and you get your bike back.
They take it like so
when
much
you don't
more
have
serious.
that, they're like, oh, you have a receipt from, ONYX. Like, it might work, but when you have like government papers, they're definitely like,
Yeah. They act different.
they'll cuff that dude and give you your bike back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about the technology. Keep moving on.
Right.
So I know the hottest topic with the ONYX bike, or all the electric bikes in general, is batteries. Right. So,
It's a great time,
yeah.
like, to be in this whole battery thing. I think the last 2 years, I've seen like 6 solid jumps Like there's like, for example, last year, I think it was around this time last year, so I don't live far from where all the main dealerships are for cars. So a buddy of mine, he's shopping for a car, and he's like, he calls me, he's like, John, you gotta come down here. There's a battery that they use in this car that I think would work in an ONYX. So it was Maserati. They had their battery, the unit by itself on display, and they were NMC pouch cells. And so that was just like 3 blocks from my home. I met him there because they have awesome coffee there. And I'm staring at this battery on display, and I'm like, that's gonna fit an ONYX. And now we have it. We have that same exact cell in an ONYX.
Oh, crazy.
In New York, yeah, it's crazy. It's 60 amp hours, and it fits under the wood cover. It's nuts, you know? So, but there's a lot of other changes that have happened. But I mean, the power is nuts. We just did this 45D battery that is giving out 400 plus amps, like continuous, not peak.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous amount of power, you know?
Well, I would say the cool thing about ONYX is that regardless of the battery technology, like you were saying, the ONYX is built to essentially last. I mean, that's essentially the idea behind it, is that mopeds from the 60s and 70s, people are still, and 80s, people are still modifying them, still riding them, right? And they're still using them to this day. And that's, ONYX is essentially built in the same way. So today people are like, you know, modifying those motors with updated stuff, right? So in the future, when battery technology gets better, an ONYX frame and motor and controller will be able to have a massive battery that should have hundreds, if not thousands of mile range, right? Which is gonna be insane to see. I don't know how old I'm gonna be when that happens, but it's gonna happen, right? And it's gonna be cool to see these old bikes going for hundreds of miles just because they upgraded the battery. And that's what's cool about electric, is that you know it's gonna advance. It's kind of like the computer industry, where we're right now, we're in like the 56K modem stage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We're still there.
So this was still the very
This is still
beginning.
56K.
Yeah, we're still in the very
Yeah.
beginning. But it's the technology is gonna keep advancing, and you're gonna be soon. You're gonna be like, oh, I got the Intel, you know,
Oh, yeah.
processor, and just basically just keep going up and up.
I mean, even with the blog, honestly, it's really, we have such a huge, you know, so many enthusiasts in New York City willing to like, they don't care how much money they're spending.
Right.
So we buy everything there. And it's hard to keep up with that in the sense of like sharing that with others, you know, and saying, hey, we're doing this, we've tried that. So, you know, you do what you can. You get around and say, okay, we tried this other controller, we've tried this other motor, and you share and try to get that information out. But there's a lot of advancement. And the same bike, it's the same bike, and it all works amazingly.
Right.
You know?
Cool.
Yeah. So I would just reiterate that the technology that people probably would expect because they see it in consumer electronics, you might see some of that stuff in new bikes coming out, but all those companies that focus too much on the technology, you'll also look at the specs, and then that bike may or may not fit what most people are doing right now with e-bikes, like from speed and performance, and being able to keep up with traffic, and just being able to use as a commuter bike. And so you don't want to get too lost in trying to find a bike that's just designed too much like a consumer electronic right now.
It's kind of hard to be the look of an ONYX. I mean,
I think we all agree on that.
Till today, I'm in New York and I stop at a red light, because now it's a criminal offense if you don't stop at a red light. And 2025, I've got people walking up to me, what is that? You know, like they're seeing it for the first time. It happens all the time.
So I would just say in stages, technology is going to filter in, and it's going to be, we're not at the Steve Jobs iPhone yet.
No.
We're just not. And companies have tried to do it. I think it's a little too early for that.
So do you think ONYX is going to be the company that does it at some point?
When we
No.
see him wearing a turtleneck, I think
I don't know.
The same jeans,
I mean,
the same everything.
if you look at my past, I worked for LG and Samsung, so
Yeah.
I'm kind of an
Yeah.
Apple hater, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't really like Apple, because Apple doesn't allow me to sideload apps and
Yeah.
watch TV while I'm driving. Like I can't do that shit.
You know, so like he mentioned before, there's been a lot of attempts at making things proprietary. And I think one of the things I didn't know I was gonna like when I got an ONYX, so, there was a moment for me when I started to realize I can work on that bike.
Right.
I can get the parts for it.
Yeah.
There's nothing locked on it.
Right.
And I can mess with it. And then I'd see these other bikes come out that were super proprietary that actually worked against them. But I mean, I think there isn't like a right answer. I think it's a question of finding that balance. But ONYX was unique in the sense of like, hey, go have fun, do whatever you want to do. This was the thing, the culture of ONYX as
Right.
well.
Cool. So maybe we'll move on to the business side of things,
Right.
or
Wolfie knows all about
So
that.
when you started ONYX as a business, did you like incorporate it and you go through?
That's
My dog's crashing out over there.
Yeah.
I was warning you guys of this. My dog's gonna go crazy at a certain point.
It's
Start
okay.
running around, be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Pee on you guys' legs.
There's like a breaking point. But yeah, so what was the question about?
So yeah, like how did you start the business part of it?
So I actually just went around to a bunch of peers of mine working in engineering and other industries, and I was also looking for a partnership with like a design and engineering firm. And so I went to Lunar, which is eventually got bought out by McKinsey, and they were pretty interested, but they wanted a pretty big share in the company, and so I ended up doing a presentation, and they were stoked, but it just kind of made me realize like I could do this myself. So I reached out to Indiegogo, and I've launched a lot of campaigns for other people, doing a lot of like their actual campaign development. But that takes time. You could do that over a couple months, 3 or 4 months. You build out the campaign, and you can have a pretty successful campaign. But I was realizing that I'm making all this money for other people. So why not launch this bike when people were asking me where to buy it, and I kept saying it's not for sale. I know a lot of people who have ONYX, you ride around and people say, to me even to this day, I was riding ONYX and I got like 10 people asking me where to get this bike or what's the deal with the bike. And I said, that's exactly what happened to me when I made the first prototype. I just kept riding around. It wasn't intended to sell it, and eventually I just got kind of sick of people asking me where to buy it. I was basically like, I might as well sell it, and I'm making all these campaigns for other people. So I built this campaign, went out and filmed videos like skate music video style, and not doing the typical like, hey, I'm Tim and I need money, and help support me, or this project won't get funded.
Right.
Like that kind of style just always creeped me out, and I just thought it would just be cool to make more of an inspirational, aspirational style of campaign, and it actually worked really well. I actually looked at my screenshots that I was taking like every day, and by the third day of Indiegogo, after Indiegogo the launch, I did 400,000 in sales.
Jesus.
Damn.
Like literally just took
Dude,
off.
I missed out on that. I came in after that.
But
Okay.
let me tell you this though, that third day was crazy for me. So I wanted to sell 100 bikes. I was more thinking of this as a personal project, simple design project. I did 100 furniture product, like 100 coat racks, and I did like 100 of some other thing personally. Every couple years I would do like a personal project. So I was thinking, this is another personal project. I can really only like physically with a couple other people make 100 of these and then just close it down, right? And be like, that was a cool art project. But in 3 days, literally like in the first day, I exceeded that 100
Whoa.
in sales. It was like done.
Okay.
And then second day started going. Third day, I almost basically doubled that. And I was like, this is a prison sentence. I was
Now you
literally
gotta
like,
actually build
Yeah,
the
you gotta
bikes.
do it.
yeah. Now then I was like, oh, this is now like a serious situation that I'm getting myself into.
Right.
And it just kept growing and growing and growing.
So how many bikes
To the
is
po- it went to like almost 500 bikes
Okay.
and almost $1 million. It went over $1 million, but there was like about $60,000 in returns because some people. That's what happens. The people like they drop out. And I was the type of person that said, hey, if you're not willing to wait, like we'll just return your money. It's fine, no big deal, right? Because Indiegogo won't return your money, which is so I would actually take the hit too.
Oh man.
Yeah, but it was it's fine. So return their money, but it was like $60K, right? Not in retrospect, it was not a lot of returns. It was a pretty small amount of returns, and I had about 500 orders, and I was freaking out, and almost $1 million in the bank. And then after I closed Indiegogo down, it grew to about 1.5 million in sales. So like it was just growing. And I haven't spent the money yet because I was deathly afraid of like sending my money to suppliers and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Wait, did you have a plan already at that point?
Yeah. I mean, before I launched it,
Yeah.
I definitely like connected with all of the suppliers and made sure I could get all the parts and make sure that the first several units I was breaking even, and then starting to make somewhat of a profit
Right.
after a couple, after the several hundred of them, right? Yeah, but it wasn't. I'm not a business person, right? I'm like not a businessman. I've learned from the other businesses that I've been involved in, small businesses, to
Yeah.
just kind of incorporate it into ONYX.
Got
But
it.
I was actively looking for business help, like the entire time.
Yeah. Was this
Right.
when James came in?
Yeah, so James came in after the campaign. He was actually an Indiegogo backer, and he lived up the street in Portero Hill, and he worked at Amazon Labs, and he was prototyper. We worked together in LG Electronics. He did a lot of prototyping for the smartwatches and gimbal cameras, and we have some patents together from LG.
So he was a designer as well?
No, he's a prototyper.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so essentially, let's say, I came up with an idea of like a gimbal camera, that has 360-degree motion and on all axes. He would help me program that. I would build in 3D model the whole thing, and then we would kind of collaborate on building the prototype, but then he would go and like program the prototype.
Got it.
Yeah. So he was more of like a coder per se.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So he would show up at ONYX, and he was like, dude, I can't wait for my ONYX. I want to build it right now. And I was like, dude, I don't have all the parts. He was like, I'll just build it, whatever you got.
Oh, wow.
So he actually is the first. It's kind of ironic. He's like the first person to get an ONYX. Nobody knows that. 'Cause There's
Okay.
like someone out there that like believes they're
What?
the first person, but he's
Yeah.
actually the first person. But he built it himself, and he didn't really like truly build an ONYX in my opinion, because he just like used moped parts that I had laying around and kind of cobbled together like this really crooked ONYX RCR. And,
Yeah.
but he was riding it around and loved it, and then he was just like, well, I'll come back when you have all the parts to finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, he was involved in for just in that aspect, and then he saw that I needed business help, but he's also not a business
Yeah.
guy. So, and the business people that I was trying to incorporate into the company didn't really work out, and there was some other competitor that tried to get involved. I won't name them, but they essentially I signed something over to them, and then I realized that like the two different people that worked for the heads of the company lied to me. And so
Yeah.
I canceled the contract as soon as I figured out that they were lying,
Mm.
because I didn't trust them at that point. It had nothing to do with what they were going to do with ONYX
Yeah.
and help me with ONYX, but the fact that they just lied about how many bikes they were selling and stuff, they both had like different stories. It was enough for me to say I don't trust these people at all, and so I'm going to cut them out. and then they tried to sue me for canceling the contract because it was signed in Texas time, not California time.
What the hell?
It didn't make any sense, but
Yeah.
they tried to sue me.
What year
But
was
then
this?
James, this was in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, so then James came in and was like, oh, I'll help you. I got some lawyer friends. And that's kind of how we started talking about, he was, talking about figuring it out and just saying, screw these guys, I'll take over.
So so how did he become, like, how did he take ONYX?
So because he helped, well, there was a bunch of stuff going on, but because he helped me figure out how to stop this competitor company from doing essentially like a hostile takeover.
Okay.
We also found a rideshare company called Bird, who was interested in ONYX, but then ultimately at the time said, we're not going to do a consumer product. We'll just hire you, Tim, and then we'll fund ONYX to have James take over.
Wait, so Bird was an investor in ONYX?
Well, just one time.
Okay.
So they essentially came up with the plan that said, hey, Tim, we want you to design all of our rideshare, scooters, mopeds,
Yeah.
bikes, all, and come up with all sorts of crazy ideas. And we'll essentially fund ONYX to have James take over, because James was actively at that time trying to help me fight off another company. So they kind of said, hey, maybe he's wants to take over, and he was like, yeah, hell yeah, I want to run this company. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's the short version of the story, but yeah, that's pretty much
Right.
how he took over.
Got it.
It's crazy. It was happening so fast. Let's just basically put it as I was about to lose the entire company to this competitor because of a time zone.
Got it.
You
So,
know,
and so James got the lawyers to fight them off.
Yeah.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, my first impression of him, I thought he was just one of us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because his level of enthusiasm towards this was contagious.
Yeah.
And then I started understanding these things and those details. I think what for me and for a lot of people, because it was 2019 was a fever of just ONYX for a lot of people. But I think, and you wouldn't think this matters, but James and Tim, they were riding the bikes. They were having fun on the bikes.
Yeah.
They were talking about that. I remember the first time I talked to James, he was giving me tips and just talking about the experience of riding and enjoying the bikes. And you normally don't get that. You don't buy a car and then somebody that plays a role at the company is telling you their level of love and enthusiasm towards the vehicle. So for me, that was the first time for me to personally experience something like that. But I saw that for a lot of other people too.
Yeah.
He did a live stream once, and I was like, this guy needs to slow down. But it was awesome. He was shredding on the bike, and he was having a great time on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would do a lot of live streams where we were just doing crazy riding through San Francisco.
Right.
And that got people a lot pretty stoked.
Yeah, till
Yeah.
this day, nobody.
I don't
else
even
has
know
done it.
how it really worked because I wasn't on the other end, and it always seemed like it was cutting out. But I
Yeah.
guess people were like, "You guys are crazy, weaving through
Yeah,
traffic
yeah.
and stuff."
Threading
So,
the
yeah.
needle.
Well, it only encouraged the rest of us.
Right.
Oh, did you see that? We got to do that too. I didn't know you could do that.
Okay, so some of Tim's writing
Oh,
inspired
a
you?
lot of us, me
Yeah.
and a lot of other people.
Interesting.
Because we ordered the bikes and we had to wait a bit to get our bikes.
Right.
So people were logging in once a week. Did you get yours? Do you know when it's coming?
Oh, okay.
Because you had to wait in the beginning to get your bike.
right.
You know.
So let's talk more about maybe ONYX Generation 1. And maybe you have some insight on...
The bike itself.
No, actually more about the business and James and
For me, I've been around long enough where there was a point where I just started doing a better job of listening to people, and I started asking them what's important to them. And I realized through all this observation, I just happened to be there and hear things and experience them. Like I said, I wasn't expecting people that were playing roles like James to be that enthusiastic. I remember when he tried to do the bike with the 2 motors, he sent me a copy of the video, and I'm like, aren't you supposed to be running the company? It's like, no, you gotta check this out, you know? So that, again, just does so much encouragement in that sense too, you know, to try things out. And it's one thing when somebody's telling you, hey, our product is awesome, but it's almost like they're spending more time with the product than anything else and enjoying it, you know, authentically. So it was wild.
It's like hair club for men.
Wait, but is the president using the product? You know, that's the question, you know? Have we seen the before picture? No, Generation 1, I think was, like I said, I happened to miss out on the Indiegogo. Like I came in right after that,
Yeah.
and they started to become, the ONYX website just had normal orders
Yeah.
to order. That generation left such an impression. It was such a, like I said, it was an ONYX fever and still is to this day. But there's so many of us going through that experience together of him and the story, James and the story, and what they were doing and sharing. It's part of the culture.
So is
still
that how your blog came about, kind of around that same time?
Oh, man, I tried to quit like so many times, but it was
Quit
just
your
so,
blog?
everything.
Oh.
It's just, it's impossible because it's, I feel like we don't really do a good job in New York of showing everybody what we really do.
Yeah.
And we're having fun all the time, you know, on the bike. The blog, I think a lot of things inspired the blog, to be honest, from the performance stuff to general questions,
Right.
you know. I'm glad it's turned out to be a useful thing for a lot of people. As I understand, it actually helped you out at one
Yeah,
point.
I mean, I'm a year long, I've been only riding for a year,
Yeah.
and the website was literally disappearing while I was, I just got my bike.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get this part. Oh wait, the link doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So of course, digging around, I mean, if anyone and everyone's like, you gotta go to John Angel's
Well,
blog.
you know, as cool as my blog is to see this moment happen where things went down,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I just had this feeling, I'm like, we're gonna still keep going, the
Right.
rest of us.
Right.
And I think it says a lot about it. Like I said, it's the oldest bike of its kind in New York. The whole thing with the company down.
Yeah.
And we just kept on going, like nothing happened. We kept taking care of our bikes. It says a lot, like, I think one of the cool things about the ONYX culture, whether it's the community and the company too, it really is like, definitely somebody had a lot of great ideas that became part of the culture. And it was like he said, you can modify your bike, you can do whatever you want to it. But again, it